Hey, before we get into this, if you've been following the Arirang World Tour at all, you already know that BTS has been absolutely unstoppable this entire North America run. But on May 25th, 2026, something happened at the American Music Awards in Las Vegas that had nothing to do with the stage, nothing to do with the lights, and nothing to do with the songs. It happened on a red carpet, and it started with a scream so loud that a Billboard reporter stopped mid-sentence, looked around, and said the words that the entire internet has now memorized. I am now completely in Jimin watch mode. If you don't know what that means yet, stay right here. Because by the end of this video, you're going to understand exactly why those 5 words captured something that no music chart, no streaming number, and no award could fully explain. And if you do know what it means, buckle up. Because we're going into every single detail. Make sure you hit that like button right now if you're already feeling it. And if you haven't subscribed yet, now is the time. Because content like this, covering every major Jimin moment from this era, is exactly what this channel is built for. Let's talk about what happened on that red carpet. The 2026 American Music Awards were held at the MGM Grand Garden Arena in Las Vegas, Nevada, the same city where BTS had already sold out 4 consecutive nights at Allegiant Stadium as part of their Arirang World Tour. This wasn't just any awards show for BTS. They came in as one of the most nominated acts of the night. The energy in Las Vegas that entire week was unlike anything the city had seen in years. 65,000 fans filling a stadium every single night. An entire city transformed by ARMY, the strip covered in purple. And then came the AMA's red carpet. Now, a red carpet at an award show is one of those moments that looks simple from the outside. Celebrities walk, photographers snap, reporters comment. That's the formula. It happens at every single award show, every single year, and most of the time it flows by without anyone stopping the broadcast to react in real time to a single person's arrival. That is not what happened when Jimin arrived. A reporter from Billboard, one of the most recognized names in the entire music journalism industry, was stationed on the red carpet, doing their job, describing arrivals, giving reactions, keeping the coverage moving. And then something changed. The noise in the background shifted. The energy around the carpet became something different. The reporter paused, listened, and then said out loud, for everyone watching and listening, "This is an incredible roar. I am now completely in Jimin watch mode." And then they added, "I can hear screaming. Is it Jimin? Not yet. Is he coming? Okay, checking." Read that again. A Billboard reporter, at the AMAs, surrounded by some of the biggest names in American music, stopped their entire broadcast cadence to go into what they personally called Jimin watch mode. They weren't doing it for fan service. They weren't doing it as a joke. They were reacting, in real time, to the sound of a crowd that had already detected Jimin's presence before he had even fully arrived. That is not something that happens by accident. That is the result of something being built over years. Something that, on that night in Las Vegas, became undeniable even to people who had never clicked a single BTS video in their life. Now let's talk about what Jimin actually looked like when he finally stepped onto that carpet, because the outfit was not just clothing. It was a statement. Jimin arrived at the 2026 AMAs wearing a look from Dior Men's Fall/Winter 2026 collection. A sparkling blue knit with prominent silver shoulder details. Black leather pants. Clean. Precise. Theatrical in the best possible way. When the cameras found him, the combination of the outfit's textures catching the light, his blonde hair, and the physical way he carried himself created a visual that was immediately being screenshotted across every social media platform before he had even reached the photographers at the end of the carpet. This was not Jimin's first time wearing Dior in a moment like this. Not even close. And to understand why this outfit landed the way it did, you have to go back to where the Jimin and Dior story actually started, because that story is one of the most remarkable partnerships in modern fashion history, and it began long before most people realize. In January 2023, Dior officially announced Jimin as their global brand ambassador. At that point, it was already a significant moment, Jimin becoming the solo representative of one of the most storied luxury fashion houses in the world. But what made the appointment feel different from a standard celebrity endorsement deal was the language Dior used to describe him. They said Jimin exemplifies the timeless spirit and singularity of Dior. That is not marketing copy written by someone who picked a face from a spreadsheet. That is a fashion house telling the world that this person carries something in the way they present themselves that aligns with what Dior, at its core, actually is. The partnership traces back even further, though, to 2019, when Dior's menswear creative director Kim Jones personally curated stage outfits for BTS's Love Yourself, Speak Yourself World Tour. That connection between Jimin and the Dior aesthetic existed before any official contract, before any campaign, before any formal title. It was built on something visible to people in fashion, even before the rest of the world caught up. And then the 2023 Paris Men's Fashion Week happened. Jimin attended as Dior's new global ambassador, and what followed was something that the fashion industry's own metrics had to scramble to quantify. Marketing platform Lefty reported that Jimin's presence at Paris Fashion Week generated an earned media value of $17 million for Dior, roughly 54% of Dior's total YMV from the entire event. Dior's YMV rose by 370% compared to their nearest competitor. One person, one appearance, 370%. If you are someone who thinks the conversation about Jimin's influence is exaggerated, those are not fan-generated numbers. Those are industry metrics from a marketing analytics platform. The fashion world measured what happened, and those were the results. In October 2024, Dior debuted its first campaign starring Jimin for the Spring 2024 collection. Photographed by Alastair McClellan, one of the most respected fashion photographers working today. The images captured Jimin in everything from tailored suits to chunky cable knit sweaters, and the campaign was immediately cited as a benchmark for how a brand partnership with a K-pop artist could translate into genuine high-fashion credibility rather than just promotional volume. Then came October 2025, Jimin's first public appearance after completing his mandatory military service in South Korea. He returned not to a music stage, not to a television show, not to an interview. He returned to Paris, to Dior's Spring-Summer 2026 show at the Jardin des Tuileries, and he arrived shirtless under an oversized black Dior blazer, paired with leather trousers and layered Dior jewelry from the Le Jardin de Christian Dior collection. And within 12 hours, more than 4.8 million mentions about him appeared on X. Not about the show, about him. He also did something at that event that had nothing to do with fashion and everything to do with character. While other guests left immediately after the show, Jimin stayed. He waited. He went back outside and personally greeted the fans who had been standing in the sun for hours just to catch a glimpse of him. He smiled, he waved, he acknowledged every single person. And then, only after spending time with them, he left. That is the version of Jimin that walked onto the AMA red carpet on May 25th, 2026. Not just someone wearing a Dior outfit, but someone whose relationship with Dior spans years of genuine collaboration, whose relationship with fans spans an entire career built on reciprocal care, and whose presence, in a sparkling blue knit with silver shoulders, communicates all of that in a single image before he says a single word. The Billboard reporter heard the crowd roar before Jimin appeared. They weren't wrong to stop everything. That roar meant something. So let's talk about what Jimin Watch Mode actually represents, because I think this is where the story gets genuinely interesting, especially for people who are newer to this fandom, or who maybe don't fully understand why a moment like this carries weight beyond just fan enthusiasm. In American pop culture, we have a specific understanding of what it means to be a red carpet presence. There are celebrities who show up and photographers do their job. There are celebrities who show up and people pay a little more attention. And then there are the rarest ones, the ones whose arrival changes the energy of an entire event. The ones where the crowd reacts before the cameras find them. The ones where a professional journalist, trained to maintain composure and keep coverage moving, involuntarily abandons their prepared script because what is happening in front of them demands real-time acknowledgement. That category is extremely small. And Jimin on May 25th, 2026, was unambiguously in it. The thing is, this didn't come from nowhere. The infrastructure for this moment was built across years of Jimin doing things on a global scale that consistently demanded the kind of attention that eventually produces a Billboard reporter's involuntary Jimin Watch response. Let's go through some of it, because the timeline matters. In 2023, Jimin released his debut solo album, Face. The lead track, Like Crazy, became the first song by a Korean solo artist to reach #1 on the Billboard Hot 100. Not the K-pop chart, not the international chart, the Hot 100, the primary chart for American popular music. The same chart that has historically been the most difficult for any non-English language artist to crack at the top position. He did it on his first solo release in 2024, while serving in the South Korean military, during which he had zero promotional activity, zero public appearances, and zero ability to push any content. His track, who became the first K-pop solo song to remain on Spotify USA's daily songs chart for 400 consecutive days while surpassing 400 million filtered streams. He was not there to promote it. He was serving his country. The song charted for over a year anyway, on its own, because the audience was already that large and that committed. Also in 2024, he released his second solo album, Muse. It debuted at #2 on the Billboard 200. His first album had peaked at #2 as well, making him the first K-pop soloist to place 2 albums at that position on that chart. Muse also outsold Eminem's album on the iTunes chart during that same period. Also during that year, The Hollywood Reporter, not a K-pop outlet, not a fan-driven publication, but one of the most established entertainment industry trade publications in the United States, ranked Jimin as the only K-pop soloist on their list of the top 25 biggest artists of 2024. He was placed at #11, alongside names like Beyoncé, Eminem, and Billie Eilish, while he was in the military. And then his track Angel PT1, recorded for the Fast X soundtrack, received a RIAA Gold certification from the Recording Industry Association of America, meaning it surpassed 500,000 units in the United States. This is the context in which Jimin walked onto that AMA red carpet, not as a newcomer, not as a curiosity, not even as a celebrated international figure breaking through to American audiences for the first time, but as someone who had been building a documented, measurable, critically acknowledged presence in American music and fashion for years, and who was now, in May 2026, doing it with BTS fully reunited, a sold-out world tour running through stadiums, and a Grammy-nominated album behind them. The Billboard reporter went into Jimin watch mode because their instincts, the professional instincts that develop from covering music for years, told them this was not a normal arrival. And their instincts were correct. Now let's talk about what happened inside the venue after the red carpet, because the story doesn't end with the arrival. BTS won Artist of the Year at the 2026 AMAs, the biggest award of the night. They also won Song of the Summer for Swim. When Jimin stepped onto the stage with the rest of BTS to accept Artist of the Year, he spoke directly to the crowd in English. He said, "Thank you for following us passionately on tour and for sending so much love to every city." And then he switched to Korean. And for ARMY in that room, for ARMY watching around the world, the switch was not just linguistic. It was intentional. He addressed the English-speaking audience as someone fully present in their world. And then he addressed ARMY in a language that carries everything they share together. And then, after the ceremony, after the cameras moved on, after the awards were handed out and the night officially ended, Jimin went back to Weverse. He posted an edited version of BTS's official winner card. The card that had BTS printed on it as the recipient of Artist of the Year. He edited out the group's name. He replaced it with a single word, ARMY. "Our ARMY won an award," he wrote in the caption. There are artists who win major awards and dedicate them to their fans in acceptance speeches. That happens frequently, but Jimin didn't stop there. He went home, or back to wherever he was that night, opened his phone, edited an image and posted it. Not because anyone asked him to. Not because a publicist drafted a message. Because that is genuinely how he thinks about what he does and who he does it with. The response online was immediate and enormous. Fans described it as one of the most meaningful moments of the entire Arirang era. Not the performance, not the award win itself. The edited winner card posted quietly on Weverse after the night was already over. This is something that gets discussed in the context of Jimin's relationship with his fanbase frequently, and it deserves to be understood clearly. The reason the Billboard reporters' Jimin Watch moment resonated so widely is not only because it captured a visual spectacle or a crowd reaction. It resonated because it felt true to something that ARMY already knew. that the energy around Jimin in public spaces is a direct reflection of a relationship that has been built and maintained with consistent sincerity on his side for over a decade. Let me tell you something about the screaming the Billboard reporter heard. When you attend a major awards show, you hear crowds react to a lot of people. There are polite reactions, applause, mild cheers, the standard recognition given to famous faces. There are enthusiastic reactions, louder cheers for people the crowd recognizes with genuine excitement. And then there is the other category, the one where the sound is so immediate, so involuntary, and so overwhelming that someone standing professionally on a red carpet stops their coverage and announces that they are now in a dedicated monitoring mode for a specific individual. That category of crowd response does not happen because of name recognition alone. It does not happen because of one hit song, one viral moment, one good outfit, or one well-timed award win. It happens because of something cumulative, something that builds across time, across countries, across every stage performance, and every 3 a.m. Weverse post, and every quietly edited winner card, and every moment spent at the bottom of a staircase in Paris thanking fans who stood in the sun for hours. The roar the Billboard reporter heard was not the sound of people recognizing a famous person. It was the sound of people who feel genuinely connected to that person, responding in the only way they could in that moment, in that space, with that energy. And the Billboard reporter, to their credit, recognized it immediately. This is an incredible roar. That was their first reaction. Not, there's a lot of excitement here. Not, fans seem happy to see BTS's Jimin, but this is an incredible roar. They registered it as something qualitatively different. And then they went into Jimin watch mode, because their professional judgment told them to stay close to whatever was about to happen next. We are in the middle of an era that is going to be talked about for a very long time. The Arirang World Tour is 70-plus dates across 34 markets running through March 2027. BTS just became the first Asian act named to the Guinness World Records Icon list for 2026, a list that includes Taylor Swift, Beyoncé, Drake, Elton John, Paul McCartney, and Dolly Parton. They are the only musical group on that list, and the first Asian act ever to be included. Jimin, in the middle of all of this, has walked a red carpet in a sparkling blue Dior knit with silver shoulders and black leather pants, caused a Billboard reporter to go into dedicated monitoring mode before he even arrived, won Artist of the Year with his group, dedicated the award to ARMY on Weverse after the fact, and then gotten back on the tour bus because there are more shows to play, more cities to fill, more moments like this still coming. If you're watching this channel for the first time right now, welcome. This is the era you decided to show up for, and it is not slowing down. Every week, sometimes every day, there is something new happening in this space that deserves to be covered with the depth and accuracy it actually merits. Not clickbait, not exaggeration, just what is actually happening, laid out clearly for people who want to understand it. And if you've been here for a while, you already know. You knew before the Billboard reporter said anything. You've known since like crazy hit #1. You've known since the Face album. You've known since every solo era, every collaboration, every Paris runway, every Weverse post at 2 in the morning. The Billboard reporter just caught up. And in catching up, they gave us a phrase that I think perfectly encapsulates something the rest of the world is slowly but consistently coming to understand. When Jimin is somewhere, you pay attention. So let me ask you something before we wrap up. What was the moment for you when you first realized that Jimin's presence was genuinely different from anything else in this industry? Was it a performance, a vocal run, a fashion appearance, a post on Weverse? Or was it something smaller, quieter, more personal than any of those things? Drop it in the comments. I want to read every single one, because this community has been experiencing these moments individually for years, and sometimes it helps to hear it reflected back from someone else who felt exactly the same thing at exactly the same moment. If this video gave you something, if it added context you didn't have before, or articulated something you already felt but hadn't put into words, please hit the like button. It makes a real difference in how this content reaches people who need to see it. Share it with your ARMY friends. Share it with the people in your life who keep asking you why you care so much about this, because sometimes a video like this is the easiest way to explain it. Subscribe if you haven't already, because the Arirang era is still in full motion. Las Vegas was 4 sold-out nights. Busan is coming. More cities are coming. More moments like May 25th that the AMAs are coming, and we are going to cover every single one of them. The Billboard reporter went into Jimin watch mode on a Las Vegas red carpet on May 25th, 2026. The rest of the world is catching up, and this channel is going to be here for every step of it. We'll see you in the next one.